On my mother's birthday, my son surprised us with a startling revelation that changed everything. Sarah adjusted the colorful paper decorations lining the dining table, a tribute to her youngest daughter's creativity. The afternoon sun illuminated the room, casting a warm glow over the laughter and chatter of her family. They gathered around for her birthday dinner, an occasion baked with the rich aroma of her daughter's homemade cake. But beneath her cheerful demeanor lay an undercurrent of worry, a gnawing anxiety about finances that shrank her dreams to whispers. As she placed the cake at the center, Sarah caught a glimpse of her son Ethan sitting quietly, his face a complex blend of pride and apprehension. A cloud enveloped her heart. What was he thinking? The worries of their dwindling savings loomed larger than the light-hearted conversation. The shared laughter felt foreign over her growing concerns. Suddenly a hush fell over the room. Ethan stood, shifting nervously, his hands fidgeting with uncertain energy. The anticipation was palpable as he cleared his throat. I have something to say, he started, his voice wavering slightly. Time slowed down. Sarah felt her chest tighten. What could he possibly share today that would distill this moment into uncertainty? Taking a deep breath, Ethan revealed he had been applying for scholarships to some of the best universities in the country, work fueled not just by ambition, but a longing to find a future beyond this small town. Words echoed in Sarah's mind. A future beyond this small town. Shock coursed through her. Ethically she rejoiced. But the reality screamed back his dreams would lead him far from home, from her, from the security they had built within the confines of family. Pride entwined with fear chilled her spine. Is ambition worth the sacrifice? She wondered. Was she selfish to want him near? She pictured a son filled with ambition, pursuing groundbreaking research while she remained tethered to her nursing duties and financial struggles. Pressure swelled as the weight of his words settled amongst their gathered family. Were they prepared to risk their bonds for aspirations that shimmered like distant stars? Each face around the table mirrored her conflict, capturing the intensity of their unsaid dilemmas. Memories of her own unfulfilled dreams surfaced like ghosts, whispering accusations, dreams of medical school shelved for family loyalty when life took an unexpected turn. An ache pulled at her. Had she unknowingly stifled Ethan's dreams? Was the looming shadow of her sacrificed aspirations now creeping into his choices? Just as she thought she might voice support for him, panic gripped her, a realization that his dream could mean separation. Would they still stay connected? A path toward success could fracture their family ties, leaving her abandoned in the weight of her own unmet ambitions, suffocated by the burden of doubt. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she returned focus to Ethan, her heart raced. His unchained ambition reminded her of everything she had set aside. What if he succeeded where she felt she had failed? What if he thrived while she remained ensnared in the mundane? With emotions bubbling to the surface like a storm, Sarah caught the flicker of candlelight reflecting their tension. The possibilities weighed heavily upon them all. That moment crystallized the dilemma. Could she, the dedicated mother who sacrificed her dreams, encourage her son to fly? The room felt charged, every family member caught in complexity, accented by the looming question. What stories remain to be written in the ever-thickening tension of loyalty versus ambition? The stakes grew with every passing second, leaving Sarah breathless, on the precipice of a choice that could change everything. As the silence swirled around Sarah, her mind raced ahead, navigating the uncertainty of their futures against the backdrop of aspirations. It struck her like a lightning bolt that perhaps, buried in the depths of her unfulfilled dreams, was the key to understanding her son's ambition. Ethan's desire to break free, hers lingered just beneath the surface, screaming for acknowledgement. What had she sacrificed, and at what cost? Nursing, her lifelong vocation, became a cage when she imagined being a doctor, a healer with the power to impact lives on an even larger scale. Doubts cloaked her like a second skin, yet an ember of hope glimmered. This might finally be her chance to reconcile with her own dreams and reclaim a fragment of herself, even as she championed her son's path. With newfound determination flooding her veins, she shifted her gaze toward Ethan, hostility and fear battling within her. Why was it so hard to voice encouragement? Perhaps a small part of her hesitated, fearing his success, fearing that it might illuminate her own failures. Yet, could she really tether his wings? He had worked so hard, proving that dreams could still conceive from their small town, a place she once thought barren of great possibilities. Taking a shaky breath, she decided to speak up. "Ethan," she said, her voice a thread of resolve anchoring their conversation, "I am proud of you." The words felt foreign but liberating. A warmth spread through her, battling the chill of impending separation. "Thanks, Mom," Ethan replied, his eyes lighting up like a sparking fire. She saw in him the promise of vibrant possibilities, yet the fear still coiled in her chest. Would her pride for his achievements turn to regret as they pulled away from family roots? What if he no longer needed her once he soared above them? "You know," Sarah continued, her heart racing with each spoken word, "I didn't follow my dreams either. I can't even tell you how many times I wished I had made different choices." She felt the tightness ease slightly in her chest, sharing her truth. "But you have the chance to pursue yours, to create a life that fulfills you." The atmosphere shifted, a breath of fresh air inhaled amid their tension. Ethan leaned forward, the earlier uncertainty dissipating as he grasped onto her words. "Mom, you're right. I want to do something meaningful. For myself, for us." His voice grew steadier, reflecting her awakening. He continued, "But I thought you might feel abandoned?" Sarah finished, an honest chuckle escaping her lips, breaking the transient tension. "Ethan, I would never want to hold you back. I had to learn that sacrificing my dreams doesn't mean you should too. I've realized I want you to have a life filled with chances I've always wished for." Their connection deepened. The foundation they had built was now fortified, standing together faced with challenges that would call them both to their better selves. Just then, a clamorous laughter erupted from Sarah's youngest daughter, who remained blissfully oblivious to the profound conversation transpiring. The room resonated with the sound of plates clattering, an airless reminder that life moved on, that moments of connection could illuminate the darkest doubts. But beneath it, a new question ignited in Sarah's mind. What if she also pursued the remnants of her dreams? Could a path to her aspirations be forged beside Ethan's journey? The flicker of possibility surged her spirit further, but how would she navigate her duties amidst her family's expectations? As this internal conflict unfolded, she felt her heart race again, anticipating the steps she might take toward a reality she had long denied. The emerging outline of her potential and the demands of motherhood created an intricate web of indecision. With their gaze locked, mother and son shared a moment charged with hope and uncertainty. Their journey had only just begun, each facing their own crossroad. The stakes were higher than ever. Who would emerge victorious as they tread the delicate balance of self-fulfillment and familial love? The moment elaborated further as Sarah whispered her next thought, her heart drumming wildly. "Ethan, what if we find a way to both chase our dreams together? What would they discover about themselves in the process?" She felt a ripple of change, the need to confront the truth hanging in the air, begging to be released. The air thickened with the weight of what Sarah had suggested. The idea of pursuing dreams alongside Ethan felt foreign yet exhilarating. Together? It summoned a question. Who would they have to become to forge this dual path? However, the rising tide of anticipation was met with an equally compelling sense of fear. She had lost herself before. Could she risk losing herself again? Together? Ethan echoed, tilting his head as if weighing the prospect. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she stammered, scrambling to articulate a vision she had only begun to grasp. "What if I went back to school? What if I pursued my dream of becoming a doctor?" Ethan's expression flickered between disbelief and joy, a reflection of his own ambition wrestling with his concern for her. "Mom, are you serious?" "Absolutely," Sarah said, feeling her pulse quicken. "I've spent too long trapped in what I thought was my destiny. You've inspired me to confront my dreams instead of watching them fade away." Ethan smiled, but beneath that joy were shadows. "But what about everything else? The kids, our home. I would hate for you to be overwhelmed." Sarah's heart stumbled at his concern. Did he believe in his dreams so fiercely only to become another anchor weighing her down? She couldn't allow this to be another scenario where maternal duty eclipsed personal ambition. "I can manage. I know it won't be easy, but you're my son. We can support each other. A pause lingered in the air, allowing the enormity of their aspirations to permeate the moment. As Ethan began to articulate his excitement, his words unfurling like a flag, Sarah found herself not just listening but absorbing something transformative. It wasn't merely about academic pursuits. It transcended the ambition of a nurse or a doctor. It embodied reclamation, validation. It was about thrusting themselves into the neighborly challenges that came with daring to dream. How do you even start? Ethan asked, clarity now tinged with vulnerability. I don't know yet, she admitted, a hint of trepidation creeping into her voice. But I can start by researching programs, maybe looking into evening classes. I just need to figure out how I can balance my responsibilities. Why not pick a schedule that complements mine? He suggested. The gears in both their minds, once struggling under their unique frustrations, began to mesh in a way that illuminated possibilities. They could coordinate their studies and help one another. Her heart raced as the idea cultivated. It was a simple plan, but the intricacy vanished. They were not just mother and son, but two allies on parallel paths, both striving to lift themselves out of the shadows. If she could weave her aspirations into her everyday life, then perhaps he could too, all while nurturing their familial roots. The room felt different. Walls that had once confounded her seemed to fade, replaced by expansive horizons brimming with potential. Would it truly be this simple, or was there chaos waiting just out of view? Ethan's excitement was contagious, and she found herself buoyed by the energy of their shared resolve. Yet, a worry lingered beneath the surface. How would her family react to this decision? Would they staunchly guard against changes that felt unfair? Guilt crept in, accompanied by the voices echoing the sacrifices made over the years. Mom, whatever you decide, I'll be right here to help, Ethan assured, breaking into her spiral of worries. The sincerity in his voice calmed her fears momentarily. The balance of nurturing dreams and maintaining family wouldn't be easy, but the thrill of embarking on this journey was intoxicating. Thank you, Ethan. I guess we really are in this together, she replied, a slight smile painting her lips as determination hardened into resolve. The flicker in her heart grew into a blazing fire, illuminating the darker corners of her doubts. As she cradled the newfound vision, her pulse quickened with anticipation. But with every glorious revelation, questions emerged. How would she juggle their family's needs? Could she withstand challenges that would inevitably arise as they both stepped into unknown territory? With a breath steeped in uncertainty yet laced with determination, Sarah made a silent pledge to herself and to Ethan, knowing the next step was only an exploration away. Tomorrow I'm going to start, she said, feeling emboldened. But I need to make arrangements. Balance will be key. Let us create a plan together, Ethan replied eagerly, the excitement returning. But as small doubts twinkled in her mind like distant stars, she realized their journey had only begun. Would this newfound alliance become the anchor they needed, or a test of both their wills? The thrill of possibility danced alongside the unsettling fear of change. Despite their shared determination, a part of Sarah worried that their joint venture into the unknown could unravel their bond, rather than strengthen it. Intrigued by the uncertainty ahead, she let out a deep breath, knowing that the path they chose would reshape everything. With each heartbeat resonating with hope and trepidation, the question loomed. Could they truly transform their individual dreams without losing sight of who they were to one another? The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting golden shafts of light across the breakfast table. Sarah's heart raced as she prepared oatmeal, her mind a whirlpool of thoughts about the commitments that lay ahead. She took a deep breath, allowing excitement and anxiety to coexist as she considered the magnitude of her decision. It was her first day of research, an uncharted territory laden with promise and weighty expectations. Mom, are you ready? Ethan's voice cut through her reverie. Ready as I'll ever be, she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She turned to him, her resolve mingling with a sweet pang of nostalgia. This wasn't just a personal endeavor. It was a shared journey, the two of them threading aspirations into their lives. As they sat down for breakfast, Ethan flipped through a document he had prepared, articles and stories from people who had achieved their dreams later in life. Look at this one. She was a nurse and went back to school in her 40s. It's never too late, right? Right, Sarah echoed, but the word felt heavy. Their breakfast became a chorus of enthusiastic studies and distant futures, where success glimmered just out of reach. Yet doubt whispered in the corners of her mind those stories might not be her own. "Mom, can we please find a time that works for both of us?" He leaned forward, sincerity etched on his face. He was earnest, excited, but also wary of their domestic commitments. "Absolutely. I'll check the schedules." She barely met his gaze, distracted by swirling uncertainties. Would this endeavor require sacrifices that would transform them both, leaving them less like mother and son and more like distant colleagues? After breakfast, Sarah retreated to her bedroom, using the quiet space to sift through online programs. She clicked through resource-rich websites, each click resonating like a drumbeat of responsibility. Every option illuminated paths her heart craved yet feared. Medical school was an avalanche of possibilities, but also obstacles: finances, time, commitment. She jotted down notes as she considered various entry requirements when suddenly, she paused. The inkwell of doubt rose again, dark and viscous. She hadn't completed her undergraduate studies. Could she genuinely invest her all when her own foundation was shaky? Closing her laptop, Sarah leaned back in her chair, summoning clarity amidst the chaos of thoughts. Why should she feel qualified to embark on this pursuit when so many unfinished chapters of her life still loomed? The very essence of their partnership with Ethan was entwined with vulnerability, and the thought paralyzed her. What if she fell short? An hour later, Ethan was back, shoulders squared with determination. "I think we should visit the campus this weekend. Maybe talk to some advisors? Get a feel for what it's really like?" The suggestion struck Sarah like a lightning bolt, mixed with excitement and dread. What if the reality of medical school was overwhelming? Or worse, what if she spotted all the paths that led to dreams she once abandoned, and still couldn't see herself in that world? "Let us do it," she agreed, but her voice faltered, laden with unspoken worries. She forced confidence into her tone, wanting to mirror Ethan's eagerness, but as thoughts crashed like waves, her well-practiced composure began to unravel. She had to be strong for him, yet the prospect of facing her insecurities took every ounce of bravery left in her. "Great. I'll look up the schedule of events for prospective students," he said, already diving into research mode. As the week went by, the anticipation of visiting the campus morphed into an insidious spiral of doubt. Every plan they devised seemed like a labyrinth of challenges, each turn more treacherous than the last. She began to dream of practical exams and late-night study sessions, her mind racing in tandem with the growing fear of failure. By Thursday evening, Sarah stood at the kitchen sink, washing dishes as conflicting thoughts consumed her. What would her life look like if she pursued this path? A line of her previous failures unfurled like an unfurling scroll before her. She struggled with the gnawing fear that she was setting them both up for emotional chaos. Just as she turned off the faucet, the door swung open with a flourish. Ethan burst in, a wide grin plastered across his face. "Mom, you won't believe what I just found out. This program offers a mentorship for students and professionals," and he stopped, noticing the hesitation etched on her face. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling for a moment. What if it doesn't work out? What if we can't handle this?" "There will always be doubts," he replied, his tone steady and grounding. "But when have we ever backed down from a challenge?" Her heart budged with yearning, longing to embrace the life that was waiting just beyond her fears. Yet, was it selfish to grasp for her dream while they both had so much at stake? The truth was that they were on the brink of discovery, not just about their careers but about who they could become. How they confronted the unknown would carve a path not only for their futures, but solidify their bond. As they discussed the steps ahead, Sarah's thoughts began to churn toward the implications of what it meant to confront their fears together. Finally, she whispered, "What if this turns out to be the most extraordinary thing we've ever done?" Ethan leaned over the table, excitement bubbling in his eyes. "Then we'll overcome it just like we always do." With a heavy breath, they sealed a pact that day against the uncertain tides of life. Yet, shadows of Chris and the rest of the family circled above, waiting to challenge their choices. How would they adapt? Would their dreams ignite conflict? With the weekend's campus visit ahead and the uncertain horizon before them, Sarah contemplated the delicate complexity of pursuing individual aspirations entwined with familial love. Would this leap into the unknown fortify their relationship or unravel the threads of their lives? The tension coiled tighter as she felt the words rise in her throat, ready to bring forth truths that might just change everything. The weekend arrived with a shroud of clarity and trepidation, intensifying Sarah's emotional landscape. Each tick of the clock sounded like thunder, underlining the weight of the decisions ahead. As she rummaged through her closet for something appropriate to wear for the campus visit, her fingers grazed through old clothes that should have long been donated, remnants of a life once defined by inertia. Each fabric was imbued with a faint memory, yet none felt suitable for the new chapter she was on the brink of commencing. "Mom, are you ready?" Ethan's cheerful voice echoed down the hall. Inhaling deeply, Sarah allowed the surface level of panic to dissolve into a pool of determination. "Just about," she called out, willing herself to transform her anxiety into something productive. The reflection in the mirror showed lines of determination beginning to replace uncertainty, a testament that she was evolving just as she intended. As they arrived on campus, the energy buzzed in the air. Students milled about, laughter intermingled with the sounds of shuffling feet, and mingled conversations floated through the crisp morning air. But amidst the whirlwind of excitement, a deep vulnerability tightened within Sarah. Ethan, as energetic as ever, led the way, eyes sparkling with aspiration. "Look at those bulletin boards. We should check in with the professors." He tugged her towards the main hall, where large banners flaunted the faculty and program details. As they entered, Sarah felt herself shrink a mere observer in a realm she yearned to be part of. She forced herself to engage, focusing on Ethan as he hurried to gather brochures and speak to peers, but inside her, the voice of self-doubt ricocheted. Did she belong here? "Mom, come here." Ethan gestured excitedly, beckoning her towards a group of students engaged in animated conversation. Their age and confidence seemed insurmountable, but she stepped closer, reminding herself of the pact they had formed. As they conversed, the discussions flowed effortlessly, and Sarah felt the warmth of encouragement from the group. She shared a few of her thoughts, and wildly they resonated. People began to nod in agreement, and excitement sparked when she spoke. The realization took root: these weren't just young students. They were fellow dreamers, embarking on paths filled with uncertainty. "That's a brilliant perspective," one of the students exclaimed. "You should definitely pursue this." The praise inflected her insides with a rush of adrenaline. For the first time, that award-winning feeling of possibility intertwined with her innate fears. But as quickly as it entered, doubt crept back in seasoned voices from her past, questioning her ambition, echoing the inadequacies from years gone by. "Let us go to the student advisor," Ethan suggested, oblivious to the inner turmoil that threatened to overwhelm her. The weight of the requests piled on, but Sarah shouldered through. Weeks of contemplation had led her here, and the stakes had risen. They navigated the winding corridors until they found the office. The advisor was a warm, welcoming presence, exuding an air of understanding and encouragement. "Both of you seeking insight? That's incredible," the advisor said, a pleasant smile illuminating her face. "Let us talk about your goals and the paths we can explore." The discussion flowed smoothly, and as Sarah listened to Ethan express his aspirations, marrying their dreams in ways that brought them closure, while propelling them further, she felt a shift within herself. Each question posed, each suggestion made began to untangle the knots of fear that had bound her. But as they concluded, the advisor leaned closer, her gaze piercing. "Mom, have you considered the pressures of juggling school and personal commitments? Can be an uphill battle." The words sliced through Sarah, echoing a truth she longed to suppress. The concern spiraled. What would it mean for her relationship with Ethan? The fear of judgment loomed heavy, stirring within her that nagging voice of familial expectations knitting itself to her. Mom." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "I think we can handle this together, right?" His trust was a lifeline, more powerful than the weight of her fears. In that moment, strength stirred, and she realized that true transformation required confronting discomfort head-on, not shying away from it. If there were challenges ahead, they would brace against them together. With renewed conviction, she nodded slowly, finally meeting the advisor's eyes. "You're right. I want this for the both of us." As they stepped out, Sarah felt lighter, yet the undercurrent of inevitable conflict loomed as Chris' opinion lingered uninvited in her mind. What would he say? How would he respond? Yet amidst the uncertainty lay a fiery spark of determination to reclaim space for herself, to mold her identity beyond the shadow of past decisions. She and Ethan shared an unspoken pact, both embracing growth forged through their bond. As they exited the building, Sarah caught her breath, exhilarated but anxious. She had begun the journey, but the path forward shimmered with apprehension. She could only hope her next steps would lead to an outcome that would inspire not just her, but Ethan and the burgeoning relationship they were redefining. Yet, the pulse of anxiety still reverberated. How would the choices they made ripple through each interaction with Chris and the family? Ethan turned to her, eyes alight with curiosity. What's next, Mom? Gripping the brochures tightly, a new question danced in her mind, sharpening her focus amid the chaos. What do we need to do to prepare for what they'll throw at us? And just as she opened her mouth to respond, the sky darkened ominously, foreshadowing conflicting tides that could change everything. Would ambition lead to liberation or fracture their uncharted journey? The lingering excitement from the campus visit began to wane the moment Sarah stepped into her home. The familiar walls closed in, heavy with unspoken expectations and memories of compromise. Ethan's enthusiasm still lit up the room, but a damper clung to Sarah's heart like a pall. She glanced at the family photos that hung on the walls, frozen moments portraying a life that seemed to have made room for everyone but herself. Are you okay, Mom? Ethan's voice cut through her reverie, reminding her of their earlier commitment to each other. Yeah, I'm okay, she replied, though doubt tangled itself with every word. Just a lot to process. Come on, let us plan our next move, Ethan said, grinning. We can draft a list of classes you'd want to take. I'm sure they'll help. His optimism sparked a flicker of courage within her. She lowered herself onto the couch, allowing the tension in her shoulders to dissipate as she grabbed a notepad. Okay, let us do it. The gentle scratching of the pen punctuated the air as Ethan passionately shared class ideas. Sarah jotted them down, but each word haunted her with echoes of self-doubt. Would she really be able to keep up? Mom, we've come this far? Ethan's voice, steady and warm, cut through her racing thoughts. What's holding you back? The inquiry pressed upon her, awakening the deeper fears she had buried since deciding to pursue education again. Memories of Chris's dismissal of her aspirations washed over her, suffocating her spirit anew. Would he view her attempts as a threat to the status quo they had established? I think I'd just need to seek support from those in a similar position, she replied, attempting to sidestep the tempest brewing within her. But the admission felt weak even as it escaped her lips. Ethan nodded. Maybe we should find a Mom's group, or a support network for returning students. The proposal evoked a swell of appreciation mingled with apprehension. Networking with other women navigating similar paths could be the key to fortifying her resolve. Yet the thought of openly confronting her challenges felt daunting. Could she genuinely share her struggles with others, particularly if failure lurked just beyond her efforts? As she moved further into this conversation with Ethan, she realized it wasn't solely about classes. It was about visibility in a world she had previously hidden from. She had concealed her aspirations for so long, hoping the shadows would safeguard her from disappointment. Now light spilled into her heart and house, urging her to shed layers of pretense. Mom, Ethan drew her back to the moment, and she looked up to meet his earnest expression. You're not alone in this. You're going to crush it, I believe in you. The sincerity of his confidence ignited the most profound desire to rise above her own reservations. Sarah met Ethan's gaze, and for the first time, she fully absorbed the meaning of his unwavering support. Thank you, Ethan. That means the world to me. She paused, reflecting on the depth of their shared commitment to each other's growth. But appreciation was only part of her emotion. A new level of determination took root. We will look into those groups together. Over the next few days they researched online, exploring available resources. Each report she read, filled with tales of women returning to academia, inspired her, reshaping both her expectations and aspirations. Discomfort started to seem less like a foe and more like a necessary companion on this journey of transformation. Yet in the depths of her renewed resolve lurked the specter of Chris's disapproval. Meetings with friends and future assumptions felt like a minefield of potential conflict waiting to ensnare them. The burden of what she might face, defiance, judgments, or worse, clouded her excitement, darkening her courage's glow. On a quiet evening, the weight of it finally emerged. They were seated at the dinner table, and Ethan had just recounted a story from school, vibrant with youthful optimism. As her heart swelled with pride, a dark thought intruded. She clutched her fork, tightly, tension threading through every muscle. Ethan, his gaze shifted, catching the apprehension hidden behind her voice. Yeah, what if when I take these steps it changes the dynamic with your dad? Her son paused, the rippling concern reflected in his eyes. Mom, we're a team. Whatever happens, it doesn't define us. We'll figure it out together. His conviction was momentarily comforting, but Sarah could feel the stirring chaos within, suffocated by the notion that reclaiming her identity might fracture their family. Just as the thought threatened to engulf her, a subtle resolve countered the turbulence. The stakes had grown more complex, but perhaps that was part of their evolution as a family. Maybe, just maybe, facing Chris would illuminate paths for them to traverse entirely anew. She realized that every decision to pursue her aspiration could ripple beyond personal growth. It might redefine the boundaries of love, respect, and support in their fragmented family. As that realization settled in, a murmuring echo of courage began to surface. You're right. We're a team. I need to prepare for everything, including Chris. Ethan watched her closely, mirroring both apprehension and understanding. Do you think he'll understand? Or will this push him away? His raw honesty pierced through the veil of uncertainty that had nestled around her heart. And as she looked up, holding his unwavering gaze, it became clear that change could either sever ties or forge stronger bonds. Whatever the outcome, I need to face it, Sarah whispered, the words igniting a determination that burned brighter than before. Suddenly, the darkness outside seemed less ominous. The sky was unfurling its colors, a vivid promise of dawn, symbolizing opportunities waiting to be grasped. The dialogue with Ethan reassured her. They were no longer victims to fate but brave architects charting their destiny. With that thought, Sarah resolved to confront Chris, embodying the woman she was becoming. Would the choice empower them to navigate the storm or deepen the cleft formed by years of unvoiced aspirations? The clock ticked softly in the background, amplifying the urgency of their next steps. A reckoning was at hand. The dawn brought with it a sense of urgency that Sarah hadn't anticipated. As she prepared breakfast in the soft glow of the morning light, she replayed last night's conversation with Ethan in her mind. Each word resonated, echoing back the commitment she made to herself. It wasn't simply about returning to school, but about reclaiming her identity amidst the tumultuous changes unfolding at home. With the scent of coffee mapping the air, Sarah felt the familiar twinge of anxiety as the front door creaked open. Chris stepped inside, shaking off the remnants of the night and oblivious to the difficult conversation stirring inside her. His presence, once comforting, now felt like a heavy curtain obscuring her awakening. Morning, he called out casually, bustling toward the fridge. Morning, she replied, her tone cautiously upbeat. Ethan breezed in right behind Chris, his youthful energy filling the space. Hey Dad. Mama's been looking into some cool classes. I think she's really going to do it. The way Ethan spoke filled Sarah with pride. Yet beneath that pride lay a quiver of fear. She caught Chris's instant reaction, a momentary clenching of his jaw, an expression she had come to recognize all too well. Classes? What kind of classes? He asked, feigning interest that masked skepticism. Just some courses at the community college, Sarah interjected, her voice more steady than she felt. I want to build my skills in business and marketing. Chris paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. You think you'll have time for that? Between, everything else we have going on? A tension crackled in the air, and Sarah felt her heart race. This was the conversation she had feared, one that could shift the very foundation of their relationship. But as she looked at Ethan, who had perched himself at the table, anticipation in his eyes, a renewed confidence surged within her. Wasn't he at the right time to stand her ground? I've thought about it a lot, she said, her voice firming. I want to invest in my future, and I believe that these classes can help me. I need to do this for myself and for us. Chris's brow furrowed, not just in disbelief but in an unsettling mix of concern and challenge. I just don't want you to give up what we've built, he replied, his tone taking on an edge. It was disapproval veiled in concern, a protective barrier, though it felt suffocating. What if what I build is something that benefits us all? Sarah countered, her resolve sharpening. Chris shifted, his posture rigid. We're still a team, right? Aren't we supposed to support each other in the commitments we have made? Absolutely. But that also means supporting each other's individual goals, she stated, the weight of her intentions filling every word. Ethan watched, his eyes darting between them as if caught in an emotional tug-of-war. It was in this moment that Sarah realized the rift between her aspirations and Chris's expectations could either splinter their family further, or provide a new foundation if navigated carefully. I need to pursue my interests, Sarah continued, opening the floodgates to her thoughts. I can't just focus on everyone else. I lost sight of who I am, Chris. And if we want to be stronger together, we need to acknowledge that. Chris looked at her, confusion flickering in his eyes. Had he ever truly considered her desires? Or was their life together just a shared routine? The silence between them stretched on, amplified by Ethan's steady gaze, urging them both to confront their unspoken truths. Just as Sarah felt hopeful, Chris finally broke the silence. I just hope this won't change our family. The kids need stability. And wouldn't a fulfilled mother be the best example of stability? Ethan interjected boldly. Regret flashed in Chris's eyes, along with a burgeoning realization of his own fears within this exchange. Maybe he conceded, his voice softer now. But it just feels risky. Risk is part of growth, Sarah urged, desperate to bridge the gap forming between them. This was the moment they could redefine their family dynamics, could grow together. The conversation weighed heavily in the air, laden with unexpressed thoughts and potential decisions yet to come. With each minute passing, Sarah felt the disconnect both challenge her resolution and unify her ambition. If they could just articulate their fears and hopes, perhaps they could weather the storm together. As the conversation shifted, signaling a newfound sense of understanding, Chris finally nodded. Let us talk more about all this later. I need to think. Later. The word lingered, haunting her. It meant pushback, another labyrinth of fears to decipher. Her determination remained firmly anchored, however. She was ready to explore her identity on her own terms and the family dynamics that would emerge on the other side of this resolution. The rest of the day unfolded with a strange blend of tranquility and tension. As they prepared for Ethan's birthday dinner, a celebration Chris had meticulously planned, Sarah felt a twinge of hope entangled with uncertainty. This new chapter of her life loomed just before her like an expansive horizon, raw and unexplored. When they finally sat around the dinner table, laughter and joyful chaos enveloped them. Yet, even in this moment of celebration, Sarah could sense the undercurrent of unacknowledged conversations waiting to be unearthed. Just when she thought the night would pass serenely, Ethan announced, Mom, I have something to tell you both. I didn't want to keep it a secret any longer. The room fell silent, and Sarah's heart raced again. Apprehension mingling with invigoration, the kind one feels before stepping into the unknown. What revelation lay ahead? Would it support her blooming resolve? Or would it threaten to unravel everything she had just begun to stitch together? As she looked into her son's eyes, the anticipation hung like a fragile thread, daring to snap at the slightest strain. Ethan hesitated, the weight of his words momentarily pinning him to the chair. Sarah noticed how his gaze darted from her to Chris, anxiety flickering across his young face. For a moment, the joy of the birthday celebration dissolved into a thick fog of anticipation, each second stretching into eternity. Ethan, you can tell us, Sarah encouraged gently, her heart both racing and soothing itself. She was proud of her son's bravery, whatever he had to say. It took courage to speak up even amidst the reverberations of a difficult family conversation. Taking a deep breath, Ethan plunged in. I don't want to go to college right away. The words hung in the air, heavy and charged. Sarah's mind spun. Of all the secrets she expected, this? What do you mean? She asked, masking her surprise with a calmness she didn't quite feel. I want to take some time to work first. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I want to try out different jobs. Like see what it feels like before I rush into school, he explained, looking steadily at her. Chris's reaction was immediate. You're only 18 once. This is what we've been preparing for, he stated, his voice taut with a mix of disbelief and frustration. You need to have a plan. Sarah felt a warm pulse of defense spring to life inside her. Ethan, if that's what you truly want, then it's valid, she interjected, surprised at her sense of advocacy. Life experience is invaluable, too. Yeah, but what will people think? Chris shot back, his concern escalating into a challenge. Everyone expects you to go straight to college. If you don't take that path now, you'll be left behind. A wave of irritation surged within Sarah. Wasn't this the very belief she was trying to dismantle, the notion of predetermined paths, of being boxed in by societal expectations? She sensed a reflection in Ethan. Perhaps their journeys were parallel, intertwining in ways she hadn't yet realized. Are you ashamed of not going to college right away? She asked Ethan, her tone softer but incisive. No. I just think I should figure out what I'm passionate about first, he said, his voice steadying as he faced both his parents. I want to explore. Chris looked at her. The lines of tension deepened around his mouth. What about commitment to your future? You can explore and grow in college, can't you? I can do both, Ethan replied, defiant yet respectful. But I need the freedom to choose for myself first. Just like you, Mom. You're standing up for what you want now. I want that too. As the analogy hung uncertainly in the air, Sarah felt the connection thumping between her aspirations and Ethan's fledgling independence. Ethan's ability to articulate his desires rooted in her own struggle fueled her courage further. She glanced at Chris, searching for common ground, but his eyes mirrored confusion. Are you sure this is what you want? Chris asked again, voice dropping to a more cautious tone. Yes, Ethan affirmed firmly. I've done my research and talked to some people who've taken time off before committing to school. It's a viable option. The atmosphere grew electric. Sarah felt the fracture lines between their expectations and aspirations widening. Yet, within that chaos, something essential pivoted. A resolute realization began to dawn on her. This stretch of uncertainty was not just about Ethan's choice. It was about the evolution of their family, shifting under the weight of their truths. While Chris remained silent, Sarah seized the momentum. Ethan, exploring first is a brave step. It shows you're thinking critically about your future. And I think that's the healthiest decision you could make for yourself. Ethan beamed, relief washing over him. Chris surveyed the two of them, disbelief intermingling with an unfamiliar pride. Growing up isn't just about following what everyone else does, is it? Sarah continued, her voice steadying into a rhythm of clarity. It's about knowing yourself, exploring your options and figuring out what fulfills you. Ethan nodded vigorously, emboldened by the fleeting silence that covered them. But Chris's unease simmered beneath the surface, prompting Sarah to reconsider the conversation's trajectory. The undercurrents hinted at further discussions, buckets of insecurities yet to be poured into the open. What does this mean for our family, though? Chris finally asked with a fragile tone, addressing both of them. If everyone's choosing their own path, how do we stick together through that? A new wave of tension rippled through Sarah as she felt the implications of that question press upon her. Would they face diverging paths? Or could they unify their aspirations into a shared journey? The answers felt like dark, looming shadows that could either envelope or illuminate their path forward. Just as she pondered this weighty dilemma, a sudden realization surged within her. We grow together by embracing our individual choices, don't we? She challenged gently. Can't we learn from each other along the way? The weight of her own words landed heavy, igniting an essential dialogue yet to unfold. She sensed all eyes upon her, waiting for potential resolutions to bear fruit in the challenge of their evolving family dynamics. The birthday cake beckoned in the background, a symbol of celebration yet tinged with the bittersweet essence of the revelations laid bare. Would they emerge stronger or splinter under the allure of independence? As she met her family's gazes, the air hummed with uncertainty and promise, a lesson waiting in the cracks of their confessions, ripe for exploration, urging them all to uncover what truly brought them together. With Ethan's dream hovering near the surface and unaddressed questions swirling in the atmosphere, Sarah felt the urge pivot on its axis. Was this the moment she had been waiting for, the key to a shared truth that might redefine everything? Just then, a vibrating buzz from her phone compensated for the silence, offering a timely distraction. It was an email notification from the community college about the next round of course enrollments. Right on time, she muttered, eyes catching sight of Chris before she decided to open it. What would it signify? An opportunity to dive into her own dreams, or yet another uncertainty to unravel amid the chaos? As the moment swelled with potential, she realized this convergence could illuminate their path forward, or lead them deeper into the vast unknown? Which would it be? Would they venture into the bright promise of new beginnings, or slip into the shadows of familiar routines? Sarah stared at her phone, its screen glowing with the community college email brimming with possibilities. Internally, she battled the whirlwind of emotions swirling around the implications of Ethan's decision, alongside her own uncertain aspirations. This moment transcended mere familial talk. It marked a convergence of desires, realities, and gendered expectations that had been shaped over years. She clicked the email open, scanning the listings of courses. Each title seemed to beckon like a signpost on an untraveled road, igniting a flicker of possibility but also fear. Could she truly embrace her own desires amidst the chaos that surrounded her? Mom? Ethan's voice broke through her reverie. His expression remained earnest, threaded with hope yet tinged with residual anxiety. Are you okay? I didn't mean to spring all this on you. No, Ethan, it's good. You did something brave, she replied, understanding suddenly flooding her thoughts. It's just I'm contemplating my path as well. I haven't figured it all out yet. Chris crossed his arms, still wrestling with the changes unfolding before him. Weird situation, he said, the tension still gripping his tone. So, are we just giving up on plans now? Not giving up, Sarah interjected, channeling the resolve that had ignited in her earlier. It means we're considering alternative paths. The nature of goals can shift, evolve. Ethan nodded, catching on. Like what I'm doing, right? Exploring the options? Exactly, she replied, buoyed by his insight. While Chris sat rigid, a crack of uncertainty softened his features, just a sliver of challenge undergoing transformation. But what do we go on from here? He looked from Ethan to Sarah, a touch of vulnerability emerging. Do we all find separate ways, or do we commit to something as a family? I think it's about both, Sarah said, each word flowing with newfound clarity. We honor everyone's individual desires, while also finding opportunities together. A mix of exploration and unity. The air thickened with unasked questions and perceived judgments. Would they remain tethered to an old script of expectations? Or could they forge a new narrative that celebrated individuality, while mirroring strength within their family unit? Ethan began to speak. Sarah's heart tightened with anticipation. You both mean a lot to me, and I don't want to let all this separate us. I'm thinking about different jobs, not just to find purpose but to give back too, he said, his gaze unwavering. It might even help us understand each other better. In his eyes she glimpsed the reflection of ambition, raw, untamed, and hopeful. But beneath it lay the whispers of partnership, of wanting family support even as he sought independence. It ignited parallel dreams within her, awakening familiar longings. How can we help each other? Sarah asked, eager to translate this spark into something functional, something that would bind them deeper together. Ethan grinned, energy bubbling through him. Maybe I could share what I learn with you, what I explore in those jobs. And I can look into classes that might align with what you want, Sarah added, her pulse quickening as she envisioned their discussion spiraling into plans. Okay, so this can actually work, Chris muttered, visibly relaxing. We could make sure everyone feels supported and not just thrown to the wind. But how? Sarah's question lingered, weighty yet electric in the air. It was a collective crossroads they faced, a moment for vision crafting. What if we create a plan? A family retreat where we outline our ideas, what interests us, and how we can support those. A wave of enthusiasm began to wash over Ethan's expression, an echo of acknowledgement radiating between them. A family retreat, and as I figure things out we can all share too, could help us pull together. Yes. Sarah felt a surge of ambition. Perhaps they could turn this conflux of uncertainty into clarity, igniting their journeys without unraveling the net that bound them as a family. Just as the conversation began to take a decisive turn, Sarah's phone buzzed. Again. Another email notification. This time a subject line from an entrepreneurial workshop possibility she'd saved months ago. More options? She mused aloud, the flicker of possibility igniting a spark within her. The lingering doubts faded into focus, threads of potential weaving the familial fabric anew. As she considered the implications, the idea of embarking on individual journeys indeed led to collective growth whirled back into the forefront. What other opportunities lay dormant, waiting for them to unlock them together? With each new revelation that sparked, her heart raced toward an exhilarating unknown. But could they maintain the delicate balance of exploration and togetherness as each pursued their paths? This was only the beginning. The questions swirled like a hurricane. What would their family look like once these paths started leading them in diverse directions? And just then, as she prepared to voice her next thought, an unexpected flare of fear shot through Sarah's mind. Would all paths truly lead to a place of mutual understanding, or would some navigate away altogether? The air thick with potential both thrilling and daunting demanded resolution, as they stared into the ever-shifting horizons of their future. The day of reckoning had arrived. Sarah stood at her kitchen window, the morning sun spilling golden light into the room, illuminating her thoughts. Today, she would assert her resolve, embarking on a journey she had almost abandoned. It was time to confront Chris, to stake her claim on her dreams alongside Ethan's. As she prepared breakfast, her heart raced with anticipation and resolve. She recalled the moments in the past where fear silenced her, moments she now recognized as critical opportunities for growth both for herself and for her family. She was ready to break that cycle. "Mom, breakfast is almost ready." Ethan's voice nudged her back into the moment. "Yes, I'm coming," she called, her voice steadied with newfound conviction. She joined her son at the table, where his youthful enthusiasm was infectious. As they ate, Sarah felt the familiar tension in the air. Chris would soon come in. She glanced at her son, and a wave of gratitude washed over her. His support had emboldened her, motivating her to reclaim the pieces of herself she had sacrificed for too long. Just then, Chris walked in, the casual demeanor he often exuded masking the complex emotions roiling beneath the surface. He greeted them with a curt good morning, his eyes searching Sarah for signs of hesitation. She took a breath, steeling herself for this pivotal moment. "Chris, can we talk?" she asked, her heart pounding. She paused, gauging his reaction. He nodded, his brows furrowing slightly but understanding that this conversation needed to happen. "Sure, what's on your mind?" he replied, pulling out a chair. Ethan's gaze flickered between them, sensing the weight of the discussion about to unfold. He sat back, ready to support, yet uncertain. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," Sarah began, her voice firm, "about my dreams, my aspirations, and how I want to forge a path forward. I want to pursue becoming a doctor." Ethan's eyes widened, a spark of pride igniting within him. "Mom, that's amazing," he said, beaming with support. Chris, however, remained silent as his apprehension danced across his features. "And what does that mean?" "Those are big aspirations. Have you considered the implications?" "Absolutely," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "Just like you've been concerned for Ethan's future, I need to be concerned for my own. I want to model a life of pursuing dreams, not merely settling for what is comfortable." Chris's expression flickered between doubt and hurt, unsure how to process this sudden change. "But what about the family obligations? What about the time who will take care of everything while you're at school?" "Ethan and I talked about this," Sarah explained, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "This won't be easy, but just as you support him in taking a path that feels right for him, I deserve the same chance. We can still be a family and support each other's journeys." Chris sighed, resting his hands on the table, grappling with the revelation. "So, you're saying you're just going to—" "I'm saying that my ambitions matter," she interjected, urgency creeping into her tone. "And they should matter to you too. I have to honor this part of myself if we're to grow together as a family." Messages of vulnerability brewed between them, each notion surfacing like sacred content. "What's wrong with taking time to explore life, to figure out what brings us joy?" Sarah's tone softened, wrapping concern around her argument. Ethan chimed in, "I'm doing it, Dad. I want to explore different jobs before making a choice about college. I won't be wasting my time. I'll be learning about myself." Chris's brow furrowed deeper. For once, he had to grapple with the realization that the status quo was shifting. "But what if it leads to instability?" he pressed. "Instability doesn't mean failure," Sarah urged, her voice gaining momentum with every word. "Growth often comes from discomfort. We'll become stronger for it." A suffocating silence enveloped them, yet amid the uncertainty, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite inside. She saw the truths they were slowly unveiling, one discussion at a time. "We will redefine our family's narrative, not lose each other in the process." "Your fears matter to me too, Chris," Sarah continued, meeting his gaze fiercely. I want us to grow together, each of us as individuals. Let us create a path that intertwines our journeys. Chris leaned back, arms crossing in contemplation. You're asking for quite a lot, Sarah. And it's what I deserve, she asserted, each syllable deliberate. We all do. It's time for us to collectively support each other's growth, no more forcing ourselves into molds that don't fit. In that moment, an understanding flickered across his features, a break in his defenses. I guess I just need time to adjust, he conceded quietly. The admission hung in the air, heavy yet liberating. Each recognition of their needs created a space for connection, drawing them closer rather than fracturing them apart. Time is all we need, Sarah replied tenderly, but a resolve hung in the air. This was just the beginning of their journey, not the end of it. As they finished breakfast, Sarah felt an unfamiliar lightness in her heart. She had confronted the fears that had shadowed her for too long and challenged Chris's assumptions about their family. In that affirmation of self-worth, she had not only declared her destiny, but also sparked a changed dynamic within their home. Ethan looked up at her, pride evident in his eyes. I'm proud of you, Mom. This is just the starting point, isn't it? Yes, it is, she smiled, the ember of joy burning stronger within her. The day stretched ahead, filled with possibilities uncharted and questions waiting to be explored. Together they would embrace the dynamics of their evolving family and navigate dreams, each one asserting its rightful place while still tethered by love. This was the true essence of their family bond. Support, growth, and the courage to bring individual ambitions into harmony. As they pushed forward, Sarah felt an undeniable power swell within her. The transformation was palpable, surrounded by warmth and possibility. This was the moment she had embraced her identity, and she was ready to shine. Isn't it time to pursue your own dreams? Let this story inspire you to take that leap. Subscribe to the channel now, so you never miss out on the next gripping narratives about personal transformation. Hit that like button to help us reach more hearts, and comment below your thoughts on Sarah's journey. Share this video with your friends who need this spark of motivation in their lives. Don't wait even one more second to brighten someone's day.